Hey everyone, so I just wanted to go over this assignment here about ecological niches. Again, this is exploring kind of how an organism of your choice fits into its environment. So you will be selecting an organism and then determining what its habitat and its ecological niche in that habitat are. You may want to use online research to assist you with this. And if your selected organism is an animal, which I know most people are going to want to pick, the Animal Diversity Web will be a helpful resource, especially the ecosystem roles section. So I'll kind of show you with examples on here. So this is the ADW, the Animal Diversity Web. I will show you kind of an example utilizing that to try and look for answers for a lot of a particular example that we're looking for. So your first question right off the bat is, what is your organism? Using both a common and scientific name. So we'll put the common name here and the scientific name here. So let's say that we were looking for a tiger. So again, you have to be careful when you're looking here at your search results. Something like tiger will come up with things that are named after tigers, like a tiger salamander or the tiger rattlesnake. But here we see just tiger by itself, Panthera tigris. And when we click on it, we see pictures that show us, okay, this is a tiger. So again, when we're looking for that scientific name, look here on the right where we talk about classification. So this part here is the classification. So go all the way down to the bottom where it has genus and species. So that species name right there, excuse me, didn't mean to highlight that much, Panthera tigris is what we're looking for as far as the actual species name. So that's the scientific name, a combination of the genus and species on that. So we'd put common name tiger, scientific name Panthera tigris. Number 2 asks, what habitat or habitats does your organism live in? Be sure to include urban areas like cities if they can live there too. So like we talked about when we talked about ecosystem roles, there are animals and plants like raccoons and dandelions that can survive in urban areas. So by that we mean where people are living and a lot of the natural world is taken away. When you're looking on the ADW website for habitat, what I would recommend is clicking here, literally where it says habitat, and it'll describe some of the areas where that animal lives in. Here it says, what are 3 types of organisms they consume? If your organism goes through photosynthesis instead, write that instead of the organisms they consume. So again, not very many organisms go through photosynthesis, but if you have chosen one that does that instead, go ahead and just write that instead of writing 3 responses. But if your organism consumes other organisms to get energy, you should be able to come up with 3 examples of what they consume in order to survive. So again, if you're looking at the ADW website, if you have an animal and that's what you're looking at, if you look here under food habits, sometimes the entries can be a little bit long. It depends on the animal, but they'll talk about some of the animals that are eaten. So here's a long list of different types of animals that tigers eat. So again, you can think about that for part of it. Number 4 is a little bit trickier. What are 3 examples of organisms that would compete with your organism for the same food sources in that habitat? So again, there's not really an easy default on the ADW to look for this one, but once you know what area your animal lives in and the types of things that it's eating, you can start looking for other things in that environment. So if we're talking about the tiger, a predator in Asia, we can look for other Asian predators, and we might see something like different types of bear species or other cat species that would be competing with the tiger for that food. So again, think about same habitat, same part of the world, but other animals that are going to be going for those same sources of food that you're looking at. Another thing that you can do if you click on a specific type of animal that these eat, so here's like the sambar. If I click on that animal, it'll show me. So here we see the sambar is a herbivore that tigers eat. And if I go back, and again, if I look at predation for one of the prey items that the tigers eat, here it talks about them being able to avoid hunting pressures from humans. So we would know that humans are one of the predators for them. Here it says known predators, humans, tigers. So there we would know that humans are part of the competition for it. So if you do a little bit of digging, you should be able to find what you're wanting to find as far as other animals that compete for them. 5. What are 3 examples of organisms that would consume your organism? Predators for your organism. So again, with a top predator like a tiger, there may not be a whole bunch. But if you, again, are on ADW and you click predation, Here it says, tigers have no natural predators except for humans, so we would include humans with that. Adult tigers are potential predators of young cubs. So again, we can include other tigers in that instance. And if you happen to have kind of more of a top predator and there aren't as many options, you may not be able to get 3 whole examples, but try your best to get some examples on there. 6. What is an example of a parasite your organism could have? If you're unsure, ask your instructor for help. And again, you can ask for help from me in the same conventional ways we've been talking about for this distance learning. But when we talk about parasites in particular, here when we look at ecosystem roles, we have a ton of different parasites that we're seeing that interact with tigers in this case. So again, it totally depends on what we're looking at. You don't have to put the scientific names. You might look here through the article and say like, oh, nematodes would be something. Or ticks. Ticks are another one that they talk about on here. So you can pick words like that that are a little bit more familiar as far as some of the different types of parasites that a lot of different animals can have. Again, if you pick something that's similar to an animal that you have at home as a pet, you might think about some of the the parasites that are common for that particular animal. So again, we're talking about number 6 here. So like I have dogs and cats at home, I have to worry about fleas and ticks with them. So if I pick an animal that's similar to that, I could include that here, as long as it makes sense. And then 7, how many offspring or seeds does your organism create when they reproduce? If you can't find an exact number, try to explain this as best you can. So again, if you're looking at an animal under the Animal Diversity web, you can usually find here, like under the reproduction section, usually they will talk a little bit about the number of offspring that are born for a particular one. So here, let me move my image here. It says here like average litter sizes are 2 to 3 young. So that would be a good example of talking about that. Sometimes you will have a chart down here that talks about the average number of offspring. So that's, again, what you're looking for that particular question, is just about how many babies they create. Because again, some prey animals will create more babies, expecting some of them to be eaten. So again, I hope that this gives you a pretty good idea of what we're doing for this particular one. It'll help you explore the niche of a particular organism of your choice. Again, if you have any trouble with this assignment, please feel free to email me, call me, or you can hop in through Zoom to our office hours every weekday, 9:30 to 10:30.